Right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We are so glad you are here. Where are you guys tuning in from? Okay, so currently we do not have anything. All right. So today's session will be recorded with everyone who is registered. Pocketed actually helps companies across North America access billions in grants, tax credits, and incentives. So since launching since 2021, we have helped more than over 15,000 businesses and helped use Pocketed to access over $2 million in government funding, pardon me. So I will be sending a link soon and our email as well. So our host will be answering the questions at the end of our session. Please share your questions with the Q&A feature. It's a really helpful feature. And we also are thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have Envol collaborating with us. And they are wonderful and experts, experts with anything HR. HR and extras. So for our first intro speaker, we have Jamie Proctor Boyce. We Please speak on yourself a little bit.
Amazing. Hi. Thanks, Abby. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Happy back to school for parents in the audience that maybe like me are breathing a sigh of relief now that everyone's back in school. Another great reason that people are back in school. Another great thing about that is it means there are lots of students looking for jobs. So really excited to be here and chat about hiring grants. Again, I'm Jamie. I lead growth at Pocketed. And prior to joining this organization, I used to build wage subsidy programs for the federal government. So really happy to let you guys know all the tips and tricks I give to my grant consulting clients, as well as share some of the need to knows about what funders care about when you're ready to pursue these grants. So really delighted to be here and happy to pass it off to, I think, Rikka, one of my friends.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Rikka. I am the VP HR Diversity, Equity, Inclusion here at Envol, and I am joined by my colleague, Caitlin Solomon, who is our HR and talent specialist. For those of you who are new to Envol, we are a Vancouver-based firm helping companies grow and evolve through people solutions all across Canada. Our clients, they choose us because we're pragmatic. Unlike a lot of other consultants out there, we don't just hand you a strategy and wish you well and hope it all works out. We're in the weeds with you, executing often on the work you don't really want to be doing. And so specifically, we deliver solutions in human resources, training, DEI, employer branding, accessibility, and then, of course, recruitment. And wherever possible, we very much differentiate ourselves by helping you access government funding to subsidize your work and accelerate your goals, of course, in partnership with Pocketed. Heading it back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, folks. Caitlin, are we all set to get started with my presentation? Okay, great. I am just going to share my screen. Give me 2 secs, folks. So the point of today's presentation is really to offer some education and some actionable next steps on how to both secure grants for hiring, but also how to hire, how to find these fundable interns and new candidates, and how to get them into your organization. So I'm going to start with the juicy bit about money, about grants, and then pass it back to Envol. So excuse me, as I'm just going to share my screen right here. Okay, so again, we're going to be chatting about hiring grants and how to find these fundable employees. So as I shared, we're going to give you some bigger context on what these grants are, how to use them, why we love them. We're going to specifically dive into what's available to hire interns or short-term hires. And then we're going to turn it over to Envol and get some real actionable HR tips on how to recruit these folks. So you've gotten to meet us, hair up, hair down, we're all here. So the great news is that there's a lot of money out there for the for-profit sector. For-profit businesses actually receive close to $6 billion every year in government subsidy. So this is returned to the private sector through grants, through wage subsidies, tax credits, various incentives. And the reality is there's actually grants out there for almost every kind of business. So we know that we hear a lot about high growth or high tech companies getting grants, but there's also grants out there for retail, for brick and mortar shops, for agriculture, for professional services, for e-commerce. The secret is that grants don't actually fund businesses, they fund projects. So yes, it does matter what type of business you are for certain grants, but what matters even more is what you want to do with the grant money. What's your project? So today, the projects that we're talking about are growing your team. Okay, so we're focused on hiring funding. Please join us again for future webinars if you want to learn about innovation funding or capital expenditure, training grants. But right now, the most accessible grants for all types of businesses are hiring grants. We know that you need people to get projects done in your business, and the government wants to make more jobs for Canadians. So it's a beautiful dovetail of your need to grow your team, expand your reach, expand your productivity, and the government's desire to decrease barriers to employment and create more meaningful livelihood for folks. So the unique thing about hiring grants is that they actually have 3 layers of eligibility. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. But the important thing to know when you're looking at hiring grants is to understand that they don't fund every single type of candidate. And really, we divide them by candidate type. So there's 5 key types of grants, and those are to fund current students. They can be any age. I've seen tons of wage subsidies used for people my age, which I'll let you guess, but folks returning to work that are in the middle of their career, maybe reskilling for a new career. It doesn't matter if they're old or young. If they're actively enrolled in a current post-secondary degree or diploma program, you can get wage subsidies for them. Now, youth is another category. This is sometimes called new grad funding, and it's typically for folks that are 30 years or younger, and in some cases, they do need to have a post-secondary degree. There's tons of money out there for research collaborations with academic institutions. We'll talk more about that. There's also some sector-specific funding to hire newcomers, so folks that have been trained abroad but have emigrated to Canada and achieved PR citizenship in the last 5 years. And then there's lots of different provincial subsidies for folks who are unemployed. So really understanding that those are the candidate types that you should be prioritizing can be really helpful when you're trying to understand which and how many hiring grants you might integrate into your business. So some reasons we love hiring grants, and you did hear me mention, I built 4 of these programs for the federal government. They're super fascinating projects, right? It's bringing together people who need jobs, the government who cares about these people, and the for-profit sector playing a role in stimulating our economy. So what's cool about these grants is that they are sometimes offered at the federal level and the provincial level. And in some cases, you can stack those grants for the same candidate. Now, you can never use grant money to profit. So if one grant gave you 80% and another grant gave you 80%, well, you couldn't exceed 100% and profit off of those grants, but you can stack them. So in some cases, an intern or a new hire could be fully funded for a period of time. Especially with student hiring grants, there's 3 cycles. They're regularly available. Right now, we still have wage subsidies available to hire students this fall, and very soon, in the next week or 2, funding to hire students this coming winter will be available. So lots of opportunities to get involved. You don't have to wait a full year to get involved with these grants. You can hire more than one employee at once, right? Again, government wants you to create jobs. So if you're willing to do your part, they're very happy to co-invest with you. Now, when it comes to student funding specifically, that's where I'm using the word intern here. You can hire the same intern for multiple semesters. So it doesn't have to be a 4-month term that you're working with that accounting student or that computer science student or that marketing student. You could hire them for 8, 12, sometimes 16 months. So we can chat more about that if people have questions, but it's a great way to get an ongoing incentive if you're willing to create a job for a student. High ROI and effort. So these applications are not terribly difficult, and you can get for most hiring grants, they range. I'll share more shortly. But the lowest value one that I'm going to profile is $7,000. And for a few hours of work, again, if you get that same grant for the same intern 2 semesters, that's $14,000. And that intern's already been trained in your business. So there's tons of reasons to integrate young people and students into your hiring forecast. So you heard me mention some of these programs. Sorry, this looks funky, but what that says is the student work placement program. Applications deadlines vary. So there are actually several different, there's a huge pot of money at the federal level. There's 18 different organizations that disseminate it for current students. Then, as I've mentioned, in addition, there can be provincial subsidies or tax incentives for students. So you can get involved with these programs every 2 to 3 months. There's intakes. And again, they offer between $5,000 and $7,000 per intern per semester. Now, the next one I wanted to hire as a youth example, currently open, there's some Science Horizons funding. Now, this is an example where not only do you need to have an eligible candidate, you need to have someone 30 or under who has a science, technology, engineering, or math background, but the role that they're filling also needs to be within an environmental firm, a healthcare organization, something science-focused, or in the bioeconomy. So I'll come back to that. But with hiring grants, both the candidate, you, the employer, and the role matter. This is a sector-focused opportunity that can give you up to 30 grand over 6 months to subsidize a new hire if you're in one of these industries. Hard to read, but what that says is the MyTax Business Strategy Internship. So MyTax is actually our best example of research or academic funding. They offer a ton of money for collaborations, not just with you, the employer, and the student or the postdoc, but also with the support of the academic institution. So your project not only gets the attention of a dedicated intern, but it gets the oversight of a prof, a lab. So if you're looking to do research literally about business strategy, product development, you need a wet lab because you're running chemical trials. There's a lot of reasons to get involved with MyTax. You'll also hear me mention shortly, almost all of these programs are only accessible when your candidate is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. One of the very few exceptions that I know of is MyTax. They can fund international students, which is a huge boon. There's amazing talent out there in our universities, and MyTax is a great way to employ these folks. So you've heard me say it several times. These grants matter, or what's unique, if you will, about hiring grants is that there's 3 layers of eligibility. With most grants, it's like, are you the company eligible, and is the work that you want to be grant funded, the project that you're putting forward to the funder, are those things fundable? Well, again, there's the third level of eligibility, is your candidate eligible? So we'll dive into each of those, but again, the role is essentially your project here, the job description. We'll hear more about those from our friends at Envol. But we do have to pay attention to all 3 elements of eligibility and make sure that we're well aligned when we're putting a submission in front of a funder. So who is typically eligible for hiring grants? Companies, SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. Some hiring grants don't care how big your team is, but there's quite a few that want to support folks that have 500 or fewer employees. Great news, that is like over 90% of companies in Canada. So if you're here, you're likely eligible. There's often a need to make a commitment to provide a safe and supportive internship. But I think that's all things that we are striving for here, and absolutely something, if you need support with, that the folks at Envol can help you with your onboarding plan, with how to support your employees. So when it comes to the candidate eligibility, almost always you can only use hiring grants if somebody is a PR or a Canadian citizen. So that's something to watch out for, and something that in theory can be added to your recruitment efforts, and we can hear more about that later. Excuse me. All right, so quickly, how hiring grants work. This is a bit of a good to know for all grants. The real takeaway from this slide is that while you may receive up to 100% subsidy for a a grant, for a hire, a grant-funded hire, you do need to be able to pay them up front and get reimbursed. So these grants do require some cash flow. So the way most of them work, you can sign up, you can get pre-approval for your company and the role that you want to hire for. Usually then you're in the queue for funding. You have a few weeks to find a candidate. Then once you have that candidate, they would then submit themselves to the funder. They get approved. They start working for you directly as your employee on payroll. Happy to answer questions about that. Payroll is not as hard as you think, so don't let that be a deterrent. But you do need to pay them, and then you get reimbursed once you can submit pay stubs to the funder, proof that you've been paying your intern. Many of the funders will give you a midterm payment. So you don't have to wait until the very end of the subsidized period to receive money, but you do need to have some money to begin paying them. I usually advise my clients, you should have enough money in the bank to cover wages for about 12 weeks. So you've heard me say the word delivery agent. Again, many hiring grants are disseminated through partners. So they're government money, but you don't get paid directly by the government. The government gives a contract to a delivery agent. And as in my example with the student work placement program, there's 18 different delivery agents. They have different role focus, different industry focus. So it's really important to pick the one that's best for you. The other reality is they have different application processes and reporting structures. Some are more onerous than others. So if you'd like help with this, that's a way Pocketed can help. So before I pass the mic, I would just love to share some next steps for folks, as well as some good news stories. Pocketed has built a suite of solutions that are modular. They're designed to meet you where you are. So we have a code that we'll share at the end of this webinar that will give you Pocketed software, which starts at $500 a year for free. This intelligent matching platform will help you identify which grants are right for you and DIY your applications. Now, for those folks in the audience that are like, I know I'm ready for grants and I just don't have time to look for them myself, there is a solution called Pocketed Concierge where we can add some fractional human support to your software license. And lastly, anyone can access grant writing. So if you're on this call and you're like, I think I need to hire some interns. I don't really know how to do it yet. I want to work with Pocketed on a success basis to go after these grants. We're available for that. So we only get paid when we successfully secure you money. If we get you that $5,000 to $7,000 for the student grant, it's a $1,000 flat fee. Most other grants, it's a 20% success fee. But again, we're shouldering the risk fully with you. We're doing all of the work up front to get you approved, to get you some money, and then we'll take our piece of that. So lots of folks have been working with us in this capacity. This is one of our first customers. They're a legal tech firm in Alberta. Literally, they met with Pocketed, and almost just a week later, they had an intern working in their office. And in that first year of our engagement with them, we helped them secure $37,000 in hiring grants. There's another company that I'm actively working with right now in Saskatchewan, not a high-tech company. She does engineering services. And she, within the first 3 months, added 2 youth hires and a student to her team. And that accounted for almost $47,000 reduction in her payroll costs. So I think that's it for me. I'm going to stop. I can keep sharing. Yeah, okay, great. And we will pass it over to Rikka and Caitlin, because the reality with these programs, folks, is I can answer all your questions about grants, but as you've heard me say time and time again, you need to find the right person for these grants. And that's where our partners at Envol can be a huge benefit to your business.
Well, hello. So hiring is hard. You're not alone in struggling to find and retain the right talent. We will be talking about how to find and attract interns or new hires in general. Next slide. All right. So to attract any new candidates, you first need to learn how to market your role and draw the candidates in. So we'll start by exploring marketing tools and avenues that will be essential to sharing your opportunity with interns and really getting them in the door. All right. Thank you. So one of the best marketing tools is a job advertisement. And so one thing to remember is job advertisements are not job descriptions. These two tend These two tools tend to be used interchangeably, despite serving two entirely different purposes. So a job description serves as an internal reference document that provides a detailed overview of position. So for example, a position overview, detailed responsibilities and qualifications, you have your success metrics and KPIs, and insight into working conditions. So if you or your business wants to understand the intricacies of what the position is all about, a job description is a tool for that. However, we're looking for an external marketing tool that shares a brief overview of the opportunity and the target audience that really captures their interest and also gets them to submit an application. So that's exactly what a job advertisement does and what you'll need to use to market your opportunity to interns. Next, please. All right, so let's explore the anatomy of a job ad itself and the 6 sections that are used to make it captivating. So first, you'll want to start with a hook. And this is a question that you want to pose to intrigue the reader and make them want to learn more about the opportunity. So for example, are you passionate about digital marketing and looking for an opportunity to build your skill set? Next, your business overview or company introduction. And this is where you share your business motto, your mission statement, and values that really sells the candidates on your business and make them want to work for you specifically. Afterward, you'll follow up with the 68 key bullet points that make the key responsibilities of the role. This gives candidates a glimpse into what they'll be doing on that day-to-day basis and get them excited about the opportunity. Then we want to use 5 to 6 bullets to highlight the qualifications of the role. You really want to be specific here, enough to attract the right talent and be inclusive enough to prevent self-elimination. Next is one of the most important sections, and that's the benefits and perks. You really want to showcase what benefits and perks you're offering to offering different outside of competitors. You don't want interns to have to worry about accepting other offers. You'll also end off with a call to action. And so our goal really is to get interns that are aligned and excited about the opportunity to apply, give them a little nudge and a clear instructions on how they can submit an application with you. So for example, if this sounds like your next opportunity, we want to hear from you. Apply with your resume and then insert your email here. Next slide. All right. So to write a captivating job ad and market your opportunity to the right talent, there's 3 things that you want to do. So first, A and B testing of the job titles. You want to avoid using job titles that are specific to your organization. So instead, use keywords and job titles that are common across organizations and industry. So for example, instead of using rockstar marketing student, try digital intern, digital marketing intern. With a few job titles in mind, you can do some A and B testing where you post the opportunity under 2 different titles. And this will connect with more interns and attract all kinds of talent for your opportunity. Second, include the eligibility requirements. So with your internship being sponsored by a grant, you really want to avoid applicants that are not eligible and do not satisfy that criteria. An easy fix to this is including the grant name and eligibility criteria under the key qualification section. So it is important to note that eligibility requirements tend to be catered around age or residence. This brings us into the touchy area of human rights and discrimination on protected grounds. So to be safe, you can inform candidates that the position is funded by a grant and include a link to the eligibility requirements for the intern to review on their own. Then you can just ask if they review the criteria and meet all the requirements, as it is important to remind these interns throughout the hiring process that because the opportunity is grant funded, employment is contingent on them meeting all those grant requirements. And third, use you-focused language. So if you want a job ad that not only finds potential candidates, but also attracts talent, you will need to use you-focused language. So throughout your job ad, I would say a rule of thumb in job ad writing is for every one we use about 5 yous. You really want to sell readers on the opportunity. by focusing on what's in it for them, whether it's a chance to work with an innovative startup or working with cutting edge technology or a unique benefit or perk that no one else is offering, you got to show potential candidates what they have to gain by joining your team. All right, next slide. All right, so we're going to take a few minutes to just review a job ad submitted for our session today. Again, do not hesitate to include any insight or feedback in the chat. So let's take a look together. All right, so this is a strong job posting. And what I love about it is that the hook and the call to action, those are present and captivating to get interns to not only read more, but apply if they see some alignment. The job title is not too specific to the organization and it's easily understood by others, regardless of workplace and industry. And the section, it has all the sections required for a captivating job ad. For example, that day in the life, qualifications and skills, and the company information. So a website also, there's a hyperlink to the company website below, which is a great way to encourage applicants to read more and learn more about it. There's a lot of you-focused language, which focuses on candidate and what isn't for them. And a bonus section is great. So this prevents candidates from eliminating themselves based on the criteria that is not required. A few ways that this company can take their job ad to the next level is a benefits section. It's really important to outline a so what. What can applicants and new employees do with benefits and perks being offered? Paragraphs. There's some spaces with massive paragraphs. You can make a candidate overview section with bullet or smaller paragraphs. And a maximum of 8 bullets. So this keeps applicants engaged and avoids them getting bored from reading and leaving your opportunity behind. So let's hand things back over to Rikka, who will explore where you can market and post your job ad.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. So we all know it's a very competitive market out there, and interns have a lot of options. So when we're thinking about hiring, it is super important for us to implement a marketing strategy that attracts interns while also making you stand out as an employer. To do this, we really need to stand out in terms of our job ads and our job advertisements in order to attract candidates into your pipeline. So thank you. We will be talking about a few ways for us to do that. So first is around our marketing graphics. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Envol has found really great success in attracting candidates by using marketing graphics. You can create graphics on free programs like Canva to generate great content. Your graphics should provide details about the roles, responsibilities, growth, learning opportunities, and have clear call to actions for prospective candidates to apply. Graphics are really an effective way to share your roles across a variety of platforms, and they're attractive, they're clear, they're in your face. So they're really easy for people to visualize and get your job advertisements out there. Next slide, thank you. Second are posting platforms. So for those of you who have hired an intern before, if you want to just pop in the chat, what platforms have you used to find your interns? Definitely. Yeah, we're seeing a lot, University and Indeed, amazing. Yes, so there are a number of platforms that you can use to hire and to bring in candidates. So like a lot of you are doing, you can post jobs for free on Indeed, with also the option for you to sponsor your posts. Indeed allows you to specify your employment type, which also includes co-op or internships. So that helps in that target searching and for interns who are looking for these types of opportunities to actually search for that function so that you can gain traction. LinkedIn is another great way to attract interns. In addition to being able or attract talent in general, but in addition to being able to specify the employment type, it also allows you to easily share and repost your job ad and marketing graphics. We really do suggest that you ask your existing team to share the post on their LinkedIn with their personal note that, interested candidates can reach out to them directly to learn more. Having that little personal touch always sets you up for success. And then third, next slide, please. We have our strategic channels. So beyond free online programs and platforms, it is really valuable for you to consider other strategic channels to connect to talented candidates looking for professional development opportunities through an internship. You can start looking into educational programs that are relevant to your opportunity. You can do so by reaching out to program coordinators to share information about your role. You could also expect that the program coordinators and educators will also offer introductions between your company and stellar students directly. So they will really be able to assist you in directing and sharing your opportunity via email with students that are existing students and sometimes alumni as well. There's also industry groups, so including on Facebook and Slack, there are communities that offer effective ways for you to share your opportunity within your industry. They're really also a great way for you to build your network and your connections. And in addition to free posting platforms, you can share your marketing graphics on the company's social media pages. Sharing graphics on your company's Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn pages is really a great way for us to get the word out while really tapping into your existing network, or even asking your current team for referrals through that mechanism. So next slide, please. So now let's turn to showcase how you can stand out as an employer when you're marketing your opportunity. The first is really framing your internship opportunity to attract, when you're attracting applicants, it really begins with your company having a very strong understanding of the role and, more importantly, the learning opportunities that you're offering. In your marketing graphics and job advertisement, it's important to frame the opportunity by being clear and concise about what the interns actually want to know. They want to know what will be expected of them as an intern and what they can expect to learn from your company. Secondly, we want to attract the right candidates to your company. So by infusing your job ads and marketing materials with your organization's company culture and energy, you are more accurately able to convey who you are as an organization. And as a result, you'll be much more likely that you're going to attract candidates who are specifically interested in working for you, for your organization, with your team. And you're able to further that through the screening process as an opportunity to get a better sense of that alignment with your candidates. Thirdly, interns are generally new to your field. And so when they are on the hunt for a new internship, this can be pretty intimidating. So we do want to try to make a conscious effort to enhance your team and your organization's approachability. And so to do this, we want to firstly reduce a lot of the jargon. There's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of words that we all kind of know, and we kind of forget when we were first starting, we didn't know any of them. So we want to really highlight to through our ads and our marketing materials what is, the general understanding, what they're generally going to learn, what they're, we don't need to get into those specifics of all of the jargon that's going to bog them down. Another way to kind of remove that element of intimidation is also to have a frequently asked, an FAQ section that you can hyperlink in your job ad, or you can offer coffee chats between prospective interns and existing employees. There's a lot of different ways, but we really want to make the experience a really positive one for our interns because, like I said, there are lots of opportunities out there, and if they're great, we want them to join us. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that we've discussed grants and we've discussed hiring, we're going to bring it all together to discuss how to hire grant fundable employees. So as we talked about, we firstly want to determine your candidate profile. So are they hiring looking for youth? Are we looking for new grads, students? Are we looking for skilled but underemployed individuals? We really want to evaluate what you truly, truly need so that you can ensure that you're applying for the right grant to get funded. Next, you're going to want to post to the right job boards. So while LinkedIn and Indeed are great, you also may want to post on other platforms like Talent Egg or Youth Canada Works or Youth Jobs Canada or alumni programs at post-secondary institutions. Or you could even post in your provincial employment center like Work BC. There are many options to choose from based on your candidate profile to post and attract the right person. Third, as Caitlin mentioned, you want to use keywords in your job title. So this is what's going to really help your interns search for your post. They're not going to know all of the jargon language as we talked about. They're not going to know what you call that role internally. So they're not going to be able to search it if we're trying to be fancy dancy with our job titles. We need to keep it simple. We need to keep it keep it simple. And so that they can search and they can find you, period. We want to post our targeted job ads to make sure that, as we mentioned, that we want to make sure that we're separating you from the pack, that you have specific ads and the right audience, the right role, the right criteria and cultural alignment so that you'll be able to attract people who want to work with you and your team specifically. We next want to state and repeat the eligibility requirements. And I cannot stress this enough. There are so many times that we get through, we've asked them, we put it in the post, we make the assumption you can read, you have read the eligibility criteria, we ask in the first round, and they say no. So you need to make sure that you are asking and not making the assumption that this person has the eligibility criteria. We want to confirm and reconfirm this information because there is nothing worse than spending all of your time getting through to the end of the interview cycle, being super excited to hire someone and realizing they don't qualify for the grant and we can't actually bring them on board. Last, but certainly not least, you want to start screening. So once you have your job description, you want established, you want to create an evaluation matrix to equitably assess candidates based on the required skill set that you have established. This is what's going to help you quickly assess candidates in the resume screening and interview process. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we understand that hiring is hard, especially when you're already trying to build your business. We get it, and that's what we're here for. If you want support leading the hiring for your intern, we do have a special offer for pocketed users. We will help you hire your interns for a flat fee of $1,500 per intern. This is also success-based, which means that you only pay if you're successfully hire an intern. So if you're interested, we'll drop a link in the chat to Envol. You can reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you to our team, and we'll be able to help you find your next intern. For those of you looking for help to do it yourself, we also have a suite of free tools and resources that you can access, and we'll share a link here in the chat. Passing it back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Rikka. I learned so much from that. I've been at many of these Envol webinars, and that was awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Rikka. Some super smart, actionable stuff about how to personalize and really target your outreach. It's super helpful. So we do have a few questions in the chat, and I think we have a few minutes left to answer them. Quickly before I stop screen sharing, as I mentioned, Pocketed has several different ways to help you. I did see one question, are we a delivery agent? No, we're not a funder. We are an intelligent matching platform. We believe we've built Canada's largest and most comprehensive grants database, saving you hours and hours, if not days and weeks, in developing your funding strategy. You can DIY that with Pocketed's self-serve software tool, and you can access that tool, which costs $500 to $800 every year, depending on the level you choose. You can get that for free with the referral code ENVOLHustle 2024. So Abby will put the create a Pocketed account link in the chat. If you've already made an account and you didn't upgrade and your trial is over, flip us an email, hello@hellopocketed.io. We're happy to set you up with a free Pocketed Basic account so that you can start looking for and applying to and winning grants for yourself. So I think I will stop sharing so we have a little different view, and see if there's any questions from the audience. I'm opening up the Q&A now. And I did see a few questions. Did they make it their way here? So I'll start with Garth's question. Do you recommend a sole proprietorship incorporate in order to be eligible for more grants? 100%. So I will say that you will probably be eligible for close to 70 or 80% more grants once you incorporate. But I will say that there are many hiring grants that don't require incorporation. So if you're just getting started as a business and incorporation is not on your near-term roadmap, I still would encourage you to look into different student wage subsidies or youth wage subsidies where you can just be a registered business or a sole proprietorship and access these subsidies. But overall, as you move into larger grants, $50,000, $100,000 for activities like R&D, market expansion, you will be required to be an incorporated Canadian-owned business. All right. I think Mauricio's question is really valid, asking, is there a difference between co-ops and internships? We do use the word intern pretty loosely here. Really what we're talking about are new hires that are either current students or postgrads, that youth category. You're going to see them both referred to as interns. Now, the funder might think that you're hiring them for a short-term period, but you can absolutely have the intention to keep them on for longer. But they typically will start as a short-term employee, which is why we use the word intern. For those student hires, that's where some complexity comes in and why you're welcome to use your Pocketed tool or come to Pocketed for grant writing. Some student wage subsidy funders require your student to be in a formal co-op. Some just need them to be pursuing any degree or diploma. So there's some nuance there depending on which funder you go with. All right, I'm just seeing if there's any here for you Envol folks too.
There is the question of how do you convey a message in a job post that you only want as a Canadian citizen or PR? So I think that's probably an us one. What I would suggest doing is in your job ad, say that this role is specifically going to be a grant funded role. And these are the funding requirements that are required by the program. So you can do that in one of two ways. You can list the eligibility requirements directly onto your job description, or sorry, your job ad, or you can hyperlink directly to the grant. And that way you're not having any legal risk because we know that we are hiring specifically for the grant. And in order to be eligible, you do need to meet these criteria points. So it's not specific to you, but specific to the grant that's being funded.
Yep, absolutely. Transparency up front is going to get you a long ways. Okay, I'm going back to a couple of questions here. Do you have grants for new grads, not students? Absolutely. The key candidate profiles are current students, new grads under 30, academic or research collaborations where you can hire someone in school or out of school, unemployed folks, so people that are actively seeking employment and are not currently employed. Sometimes they need to be eligible for EI, sometimes they don't. And another key category of fundable candidate would be newcomers. Those tend to be sector specific, adding folks in IT departments, environmental departments, places where we want to see more newcomers joining the workforce in specific sectors. All right. Yulia is asking, are all of the hiring grants offering 50 to 70%? Are there any that cover 100%? So the answer is yes. There are varying, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of wage subsidies and hiring grants that are open in Canada right now. And they vary from offering you 15% towards your payroll costs for 12 weeks to 80% for 6 months. So they really range. At this point in time, it's pretty rare to find a program that covers, that is a single program that covers 100%. That was a really awesome past percentage that we saw a few years ago. Currently, the highest that we're seeing is usually 80%. That being said, there are exceptions. Nonprofits can get 100% of minimum wage covered through Canada Summer Jobs, which is a great youth hiring grant. It's for summer hires, but you need to think about it in January. So there is a lot of nuance, right? We're trying to give you some general information about literally hundreds of programs. You can figure out which of those hundreds of programs are relevant to your business and your projects by using the Pocketed tool. And so please, if you haven't made an account, please set one up. Hopefully you can start to learn about the specific contributions that you'll need to make for the various wage subsidies. All right, I think we're nearing time, but I'll try to just get through these last couple of questions. We have recently hired a new graduate, asks an anonymous attendee who's already on payroll. Is it too late to apply for funding? Typically, yes. So I will say that almost every funder requires you to at least start the application before your hire starts with your company. And most programs are going to require you to be approved by the funder before the hire starts. When we think about the government's objective, they want to create more jobs, right? They want more folks in a payroll position, earning a paycheck and paying into our tax base through CPP and EI. So if you already have someone on payroll, they sort of are going to look at you and say, you can handle that hire. We don't need to get involved. So it is about creating net new jobs, which is why you need to get the funding in place before that person starts. And I will answer the payroll question. Honestly, send an email to hello@hellopocketed.io. We can hook you up with a referral to some of our preferred payroll softwares. Essentially, there's apps that'll do it for you for dollars per pay run. It does not need to be hard. But again, I can't underscore enough that grants are funded by our shared tax base. And so that really makes sense, right? They want to fund payrolled employees, folks that we know are paying their income tax, paying into the Canada Pension Plan, paying into unemployment insurance bases. So you do need to put folks on payroll in order to garner most of these grants. But just like so many apps that make so much of our lives easier, you can really rely on technology to get that done for you effectively. All right. Anything else that seems critical here, team?
I'll just answer the quick questions for Envol. So the first one is around what are some of the common challenges the companies face when they're trying to hire and develop fundable employees? I would say time is one of the biggest challenges. It's one in terms of pre-planning and understanding what's happening in your work in your work trajectory, 3 to 6 months in advance. And then having the time to screen and identify all of your candidates. And that's why a number of our clients have worked with Envol. They just simply don't have the time to go through the hiring process and the process of building their business. And so we act as an extension of their team because time is one of their biggest challenges. Because especially with intern roles, there are a high volume of applicants. So that's one of the biggest challenges. And the second I would say is really understanding what you want to get from the intern in terms of a deliverable. So which kind of ties into the second question of how you can align with the intern development efforts with the business goals. That should really be happening at the beginning in the job description phase. We want to really understand how this is intern actually going to contribute to our business. So often our clients, when we initially start with them, they just want to hire an intern to hire an intern. And that's not truly valuable. These interns are coming out of school hot with lots of great education and backgrounds and all the things. They can really contribute to your organization. We need to stop thinking about them as just like people who are going to file. They can really have significant impacts to your business. And so thinking about what you want to achieve from your business and really what tangibly someone can do is an important part of that process. And then when you're then creating your competency matrix, that way you can assess in your interview process whether someone is aligned to your company's mission, vision, values, and to the role in of itself.
I really love what you're saying, Rikka. In my first job working for a funding organization, I helped onboard over 650 employees. And I saw firsthand when you have a clear onboarding plan, a clear support system, clear KPIs for your interns, people are hungry for exciting, meaningful work. And so if you can do a little bit of work up front on your own or with the help of Pocketed and Envol, you can repeat that process semester over semester with new interns. And so a little bit of investment in setting up your systems and getting clarity about your vision for these hires will just prove dividends. And you're developing your talent pipeline, right? These students hopefully become then you become their first employer after school, so on and so forth. So we really we love interns. We use them a ton in our own businesses. Both Pocketed and Envol have used a ton of wage subsidies. And so if you want more info, please reach out. You can reach my team at hello@hellopocketed.io. But we really encourage you to make a Pocketed account. We can learn so much more information about your business by seeing what grants you match to and can offer you more advice. I see people do have more questions, but we are at time. But Kriti, Betty, Lindsay, Narges, like everyone else on the chat, please flip us an email. We'll be happy to answer your questions about grants. And if there our near-term funding opportunities, we'll be happy to get on a call with you and help you navigate those and help you better understand how our support and our fees can work. So it really does take a village. I just want to say thank you to our guests from Envol. Thank you, Rikka. Thank you, Caitlin. I really appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness. And I just want to give a big shout out and a nod of appreciation to all the entrepreneurs in the audience. Hiring is hard, building business is hard, figuring out grants is hard, but we've got your back and we want to help you and share the knowledge that we have. So please make your Pocketed account, get in touch with our organizations if we can support you. And we wish you all a really happy back to school season.
All right, cheers, everybody. Goodbye, and thank you so much for all of your time.